Good morning and welcome to the fourth hour. Great to have you along. President Biden is going to be visiting New Orleans. I'll tell you about that. He's giving Liz Cheney an award. Did you see this? Liz Cheney getting a standing ovation as Biden gives her the Presidential Citizens Medal. Seriously? Was I even up for contention? I mean, come on. Excuse me. So Liz Cheney getting the being honored along with other Americans. Oh yeah, that list that's a real honor list that we see going on there. So Cheney being recognized for her service in Congress and on the special House committee, my friend, on the special House committee that investigated the January 6th attack. Oh, please. Being awarded for that. You know, just when you thought I couldn't get the Biden administration, things couldn't get any worse. It gets worse. It gets worse. How many times have I said that to you? It's a little bit mind-blowing. While we're talking about Joe Biden, he is going to be visiting New Orleans on Monday. The White House announced this morning that he will be there to grieve with the families and communities. Right, as if he's even aware of what's actually. I just have a really hard time as to whether he's even cognizant of what is really going on. So his time cannot end soon enough. All right, I saw this story earlier this morning, and I mentioned it kind of briefly. U.S. military service is the strongest predictor of carrying out extremist violence. And this is a story by The Intercept. And I thought, what? Because you're in the military. Now, keep in mind that both of these men, the guy who was behind the attack in New Orleans, as well as the man driving the Tesla Cybertruck, both had U.S. military backgrounds. And so they go on to say, here it is, military service is also the single strongest individual predictor of becoming a mass casualty offender. It's far outpacing mental health issues, according to a study. So people with U.S. military backgrounds committed criminal acts that were motivated by their political, economic, social, or religious goals, which is fairly, that's a pretty wide swath there. The one thing they have in common then would be that they served in the military. You know, I don't know that it's all about military service. I kind of Sean's making me laugh here with a slow clap for all the rhinos. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. Randy, I ask myself this question every day when I see all of this kind of stuff. I ask myself that question every day. U.S. military service. I'll tell you what it is. It's a lack of family. Families are broken. You know, we have children that are being raised without a father in the house. You've got all of those things going on. You got a complete lack of religion in our country. And I'm talking about whether it's, you know, especially among Christians, I think. In fact, they are degraded often. Just the breakdown of our society. I don't think military service is the big issue that is driving that it's they have, admittedly, they have that in common. But is military service the big issue driving that? I'd appreciate your thoughts. Don't be afraid to comment, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. I can see both of your regardless. I've got both platforms, got access to your comments. I'd appreciate knowing what you think. The idea that military service is the strongest predictor of this kind of violence, and again, in this case, it so happened that both of these, they have military backgrounds. But as I was saying on the air this morning, much different reasons behind what was driving them. Much different. They were being driven by completely different things. I just think it's the absence of God in our society that we see, and I'm, that's driving a lot of this breakdown of families. And I also mentioned this morning in the case of the New Orleans bomber, or excuse me, he was not the bomber. He's the one who was running people over. In his case, his family was distanced from him, and they were responding in shock like a lot of us were. I mean, I think our signs there. Are we paying attention to what's going on with their families and their loved ones? When things like that, when somebody suddenly is estranged from the family and they distance themselves from everybody, and are we reaching out to them? Are we trying to see what's going on? Are we trying to, keep a connection with them? I wonder about this. Steve said, I guess for the left, this is a predictor. For those of us that live in the real world, these two are the outliers. I totally agree. Your worldview will dictate what you think is relevant when trying to find answers. Yeah, absolutely agree. Kathy is saying, once again, the left trying to do anything they can to put down our military. Yeah, having known people who served in the military, the idea that because they were in the military, that's where this is coming from. I have a really hard time. Just look at our country. Look at all the nonsense. I mean, this is, I feel like I need a shower every day after going through all of these stories with you. It's like, can I wash this funk off of me? I mean, it's just a little bit disturbing. Where does that come from? I just think our culture is breaking down. And this is not Democrat, Republican. I mean, our culture is breaking down. And here are the examples. I have them for you every day. Examples of what's going on and what people are doing. And, so many times you just sit there and you find yourself at a complete loss to be able to react to some of this stuff. It just gets crazier and more outrageous. And, this is why it just blows my mind. Absolutely. There is no, speaking of craziness, no shortage of craziness going on. We have the CEO of AllState at the Sugar Bowl, who made some comments that on the surface, and I took a look at it, he said Americans have an addiction to divisiveness. Let's go to all of his comments that he had shared. In fact, I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this audio here. Watch this.
Welcome to the AllState Sugar Bowl. Wednesday, tragedy struck the New Orleans community.
True.
Our prayers are with the victims and their families. We also need to be stronger together by overcoming an addiction to divisiveness and negativity. Join AllState working in local communities all across America to amplify the positive, increase trust, and accept people's imperfections and differences. Together, we win.
So that's what he said. And people are, you know what? I should not have shut that. I'm going to continue to share that. People are reacting to this pretty strongly on social media. That's pretty common. So I want to get to some of the reaction here. One who said, this sounds like a terrorist apologist. Did it sound that way to you? He called it. Now, again, you're talking about the massacre of Americans because really, you had 15 people who were run down. 15 people were run down. And he said it was an imperfection. And he's saying he needs to step down as CEO and AllState stock needs to collapse. What he said is unforgivable. Now, I would appreciate your reaction to this. What are you thinking? That's why I shared the audio, because I wanted you to hear it for yourself and for you to make the determination, because I've seen this. Breitbart's got a big story on it, and I'm seeing this especially at more of the right-wing kind of websites that I at least lean right-wing. Breitbart is a place that I go often, but a number of those websites are really fixated on this. Postmillennial is another one of those that's fixated on this story. Is that as outrageous as folks are making it? Now, I would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on it? If you leave a comment, I will be sure to share it. But that was, I don't know that was all that well thought out on his part, but that's what was said. Steve, I kind of agree with this. I'm tired of being outraged at people that don't think exactly as I do. I now just ignore people like the CEO of AllState. Life is too short to be outraged all the time. This is one of the reasons why I don't spend an incredible amount of time on social media. I'm not denigrating social media, because that's how I'm contacted. That's how I have contact with you. We're exchanging ideas, we're exchanging thoughts, and that's what keeps me coming back. I just really enjoy that, whether it's phone calls on the air, whether it's comments on social media or YouTube. Those kinds of things really drive me, and I appreciate knowing your thoughts. I'm a little bit like Steve. How are these folks just not exhausted at being outraged all the time? They're outraged at this, and I get a kick out of AllState stock should drop. And it's like, oh man, if I find myself ever saying that or writing that, especially, it's just like, I hope somebody will give me a knock in the head and say, wake up and get with it. Hey, this stuff happens, and people have differing ideas, and it's a bit much. So people reacting again. I didn't hear anything there that I found all of that troubling. 30 seconds, it's there and gone, and people, really upset by it. I'm like, really? As I look at the number of things that are going on in this country that upset me, that's nowhere on the list. That is absolutely nowhere on the list. So it's just nonsensical stuff. Also, the issue of alcohol is coming up again. In fact, the Surgeon General says alcohol ought to have a warning label. We ought to have a warning label on alcohol. Really? Is this where? How would the warning labels work so far? What do you think about a warning label on alcohol? Now, I will bring this up that, my mother was an alcoholic and it took her life. She's been gone now a number of years. That mom has passed away. It destroyed her liver. And by the, she was trying to stop again, and it was just too late. The destruction had just become too great. Alcoholism runs in my family. There are others who have also died of alcoholism. The idea that having a Surgeon General's warning on alcohol, it's like, well, that's the appropriate gift, I think, from the Biden administration as they're on their way out the door. That kind of stuff. Again, folks are going to make the choices that they make. getting information out there. I'm all in favor of warning people, but how well have the warning labels worked on cigarettes? Or anything else? I mean, I just don't. I just don't know that works. Putting these labels on. Steve says, "Hey, congratulations, by the way, Steve." And I mean that really sincerely. Having seen, alcoholism up close and knowing what folks go through and their families go through, I'm glad to hear you say that. The idea that alcohol needs a warning label like cigarettes, everyone knows it's not great for you. Yeah, absolutely agree. Everybody knows. Usually it's a statement of the obvious, right? It's a statement of the obvious. You and I are aware of it, that these things are not, good for us, and we choose to do them anyway. There are a number of things like that. It's just just the way life goes. There was one other thing I wanted to share because this really caught my attention. Amarillo by Morning. I'm a big George Strait fan. George Strait also saying and then there's the cigarette popping up as I pull up the screen. This was, I think let's start at the beginning here. Because George Strait introduces the song here briefly. He says, his favorite song.
My most favorite song that I've ever recorded, and it was big in the dance halls. People always requested this. It's called Amarillo by Morning. I love singing it.
And his voice is just as smooth as it has ever been, I think. He starts here in just a moment, but listen to the chords. I wish I could sing like this. I really do.
Amarillo by morning, up from San Antonio.
Now, that's his all-time favorite song. He just loves singing it. I just wanted to share a brief portion of it with you this morning, but it's a great song. I've always been a fan of George Strait, and had a chance to see him in concert a number of years ago, and it was absolutely terrific stuff. Among the things that I enjoy. I'm going to leave it there for today. I want to wish you a great weekend. I'm going to ask you to please hit the like button before you leave. If you'll do that for me, very much appreciated. A few of you have already done so. My thanks to you. So you take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Tell your friends, you meet them. Hey, do you listen to the Greg Belfrage Show? Let them know what I'm doing, will you? I'm going to be working hard this year to try to get our numbers up. So I will leave it there for today. You take care. I'll see you again on Monday. So long until then, my friend, and may God bless.